Welcome to our series on helpful hints for Highfields. Today we've got a 230 roll-up. We're going to be setting it up and showing you everything you need to know. We're down here on the beach, and I guess the first thing when you're setting up a roll-up is to make sure your surrounds have no sharp things. This is a blow-up boat, so it's pretty obvious. All right, let's get into it. So the roll-up range comes from 2 meters up to 3.4, and one of the key things with them is that they're really transportable. So this one is from our great friends at Northside, and they've used it before, and they put it back into its container. It's pretty hard to get back into its container, but you can see we've got everything we need here. So we're just going to undo everything. And also a helpful thing is the bag acts as a nice sort of mat for us to do our setup. So let's get it all out and we'll see what we've got. So spreading the bag out, got our oars, we'll put those to the side. The seat, which helps lock the whole boat together, but also is a great place to drive from. Cup holder. Now we're getting into it. So first off is our air mat. So this keeps the boat nice and rigid, and got flush mount valves everywhere, high quality. So that'll be the first thing we blow up. And then unroll our vessel. And here's a key aspect of the roll up is the transom is solid aluminium. So it's welded into the PVC. This is the PVC version. You can get it in Hypalon as well. So it's welded in, and with the roll-up range you go from the 2 meter one takes up to 3.5 horsepower, all the way up to, can you believe, you can get 15 horsepower on one of these. Probably wouldn't be going that far, but these are great tender vessels. They're designed to be nice and lightweight, transportable. So let's get into the process. All right, let's get ready to inflate. And the first thing we're going to do is put the floor mat into the boat and underneath the tubes. So making room, getting it in there. We've got the air mat in, and we're just going to partially inflate it, just to a few PSI, so we can lock it in there and stop everything moving around. Using a hand pump or foot pump, and just to give a bit of form to the boat. We're not pumping it up the whole way. Obviously if you had an electric pump, this is a bit more fun. So the reason we partially inflate it, you've got these tabs that hold the air mat in. So we want to make sure it's underneath that, under the tubes. Still got access to the keel valve, and we just give it a bit more pressure, probably up to 3 psi at this point. So we've got the floor mat inflated a bit, just a bit under 3 psi. Take that out, move over, and we'll get the keel inflated to 3 psi as well. There we go, 3 psi. And we're still, the floor mat is still under the tubes. Just checking that before we start on the tubes. And now we can start on the tubes. And when we do that, we don't put them up to full PSI. Each roll-up has different chain pressures. We're going to put 3 PSI in our chambers today, but we're not going to go straight up to 3 PSI. We're just going to get them inflated a bit, and then go to the next one and just slowly get them up to pressure. So this is the third chamber, we can go a bit harder. And just making the air floors under the chamber. Whew. So going around a second time and bringing everything up to pressure. All of the chambers are up to pressure, the keel's up to pressure. The last thing we do is the air mat and bring it up to full pressure. And it's the most rigid bit, it's the bit you're standing on. So it goes up to 10 psi, which is quite a bit. And you'll notice it on the pump, it gets a bit harder. But there we go. So with a foot pump or a hand pump, it's not too hard. It's a warm day today, so I did build up a little bit of a sweat. If you've got an electric pump, it makes the life a lot easier. But really, in 5 minutes, you're up to pressure. So we've got a few last things to do. One is our seat. So if you put the seat in on one side, you can then come across and use the cup holder as a assistance for you. Ooh. And you can see the tension that brought on. So pulling the seat in pulls up the outer chambers and just gives more rigidity to this blow up vessel. Just while we're out of the water, just thought I'd show you what the keel does. And you can see it there. So the keel gives you some forward direction to the boat. If you didn't have a keel, if you rowed or when you're moving around, you kind of just go in circles. So it's like a fin almost at the bottom, and that's what that inflatable did for the keel under the floor mat. Also, while we're here, Highfield's reinforcement. So when you pull up to a beach, if there's a rock or a shell, it's not going to hurt it. Also note, we've got welded on D shackles in the front handle. So if you were towing, you can create a 3-point bridle. All right, let's have a look at everything else we've got. Outboards always seem to give up whenever you need them most. So do make sure you add your safety gear, some oars. So I've got our clip together oars, very simple. Put it in, press the little clip, and secure them to our vessel. Tighten on the little knob. And I do like the Velcro holds we have, rather than those plastic ones that tend to pop off all the time. So our oars in place. Do that on both sides. Before we go in the water, one last thing you need to check is your bung. So this is a flip bung, so you just put that a bit in the hole. It's kind of like a wine cork, I guess. When you push this down, creates a little bulge, locks it in place. Let's put that in place before we forget. So we're ready to go in our Highfield 230 or 2.3 meters. This vessel is for 2 people. So obviously the driver would probably sit on the side here and your passenger on the opposite side, perhaps on the seat or on the tube there. Next step is you'd be attaching your outboard. For this boat, you can go up to 6 horsepower, which means it's perfect for a little runabout in the canals. Don't need to register it. This would probably be used as a tender. Another thing to note with the whole roll-up range is you do have davit points or davit welded on points for lifting if you need to do that. And so we're ready to go and jump in the water. So we're in the water. You can see where I'm sitting. I'm just doing some rowing around. It's quite maneuverable, very light. This is a 26 kilogram version at the 2.3 meter range, so quite manageable as a tender. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and we'll see you next time on the Rudder. Au revoir.